In 1932, the unemployment rate in this country was 23.6%. Let me say that again. The unemployment rate in 1932 was 23.6%. We were at the depth of what came to be known as the Great Depression, the cruelest economic depression in American history. Starving children were going to bed hungry in this country in 1932. The suicide rate was skyrocketing. And today, the Trump stock market is on its way, according to the Wall Street Journal, to the, quote, worst April since 1932. Prior to the Donald Trump stock market, not a single economic...
What if the U.S. economy is about to repeat one of its darkest chapters, with the stock market plummeting and President Trump openly attacking the very institution that safeguards our financial stability, the Federal Reserve? Could we be heading into a financial crisis worse than the Great Depression? Could one man's reckless decisions send the nation spiraling into a catastrophe? The stakes have never been higher, and the shocking truth might be that everything we've been told about tariffs, recession, and the economy could be a lie. In 1932, the U.S. faced the Great Depression with an unemployment rate of 23.6%. The economy was in free fall, families were starving, and suicides were rising. Amid this despair, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's election brought hope, guiding the nation through recovery with his New Deal policies. Fast forward to today, and the U.S. stock market is mirroring the worst days of 1932, according to the Wall Street Journal. April 2023 is shaping up to be one of the worst in history, as the market dips and recession fears loom large, echoing the disastrous economic collapse of the past. What's particularly alarming today is not just the faltering market, but President Trump's role in fueling financial instability. No previous president in modern history has been as bold and reckless as Trump in publicly attacking the Federal Reserve, a key institution that maintains U.S. economic stability. Trump's public clashes with the Federal Reserve are unprecedented. Recently, he launched a tirade against Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman he appointed during his first term. Despite being reappointed by President Biden, Powell has become Trump's scapegoat, blamed every time the stock market shows signs of decline. Trump's approach is creating a dangerous precedent. On one occasion, he publicly predicted a recession and placed the blame squarely on Powell's shoulders. His claim that the economy could only recover if Powell lowered interest rates, a position he had never expressed during his campaign.
That respect gap is bigger than ever, and so Donald Trump decided that once again today, he would publicly attack Jerome Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve, who was appointed to that job by Donald Trump in his first term, and then was reappointed by President Biden. That's right. President Biden reappointed Republican Jerome Powell, who was originally put into that position by Republican Donald Trump. And so the guy who says he always chooses the best people is now attacking one of his best people and crashing the stock market every single time that he does it. No president has ever been stupid enough to do that until Donald Trump.
Now, Trump has shifted the narrative, saying that only the Federal Reserve can fix the economy, essentially passing the buck on to Powell. This is where things get even more troubling. Speculation has mounted that Trump may attempt to remove Powell from his position, an illegal move under current law. The mere possibility of such an action has sent shockwaves through Wall Street, with fears of a full-blown financial crisis emerging. CNBC even warned that Trump's actions are undermining the foundation of the American economy and the country's place in the global financial system. Let's make this clear. The Federal Reserve Chairman cannot be fired by the President. The decision to raise or lower interest rates is made through a majority vote within the Federal Reserve's Policy Committee, not by a single individual. Despite this, Trump's continued attacks on Powell are sowing confusion and uncertainty in the markets, with investors unsure of whether the president will act on his impulses. As this chaos unfolds, the financial repercussions of Trump's policies are becoming more evident in everyday life.
No president has ever been stupid enough to do that until Donald Trump. At 9:41 a.m., Donald Trump decided to go on social media and predict a recession, which no president has ever done. No president has ever predicted a recession during their term. So Donald Trump predicted a recession, and then he blamed it on the Federal Reserve chair, saying there can be a slowing of the economy, otherwise known as a recession, unless Mr. Too Late, a major loser, lowers interest rates, N-O-W, capital letters. Now, all those Trump voters who believed Donald Trump was going to make the American economy better all by himself, all of them thought.
For instance, the extended trade war has led to price hikes in various sectors, including the automotive industry. A recent report revealed that the average cost of car insurance could rise by over $300 by the end of the year, all due to the ongoing tariffs. If you've bought a car recently or are in the market for a new one, you might already be feeling the pinch. A 25% auto tariff is set to raise car prices across the board, and as expected, the advertising industry is already playing on this fear. Car dealerships are rushing to lock in pre-tariff prices, urging buyers to make a move before it's too late. But here's the kicker: Trump's long-standing claim that China would bear the burden of these tariffs was always a lie. In reality, American consumers and businesses are the ones paying the price. Now, even his most loyal voters are starting to realize the truth about Trump's tariffs, no matter how much he tried to downplay it. In 1932, as the stock market tanked, the vast majority of Americans couldn't afford to buy a car. Today, we're once again facing a similar moment as Trump's economic policies push us back to those painful levels of financial insecurity. While the stock market falters, the broader economy, thankfully, has not yet reached the depths of the Great Depression. However, Trump's predictions of a recession are ringing in our ears, with tariffs and economic uncertainty continuing to make life more expensive for Americans across the nation. Even retirement accounts, once booming under the previous administration.
Who would have the last word on a confrontation between the president and the chairman of the Federal Reserve? But no one looks to the United States Supreme Court the way we used to. No one looks to the court with confidence anymore, because Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas are both the most publicly, politically compromised Supreme Court justices in the history of the court, and because Donald Trump and his Justice Department lawyers have done nothing, despite a Supreme Court order, to facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia from a prison in El Salvador after the Supreme Court ordered the Trump administration to facilitate his return because he was forcibly sent there in what the Trump Justice Department initially admitted in court was a mistake.
Have taken a hit under Trump's policies. It's almost as if the president inherited a thriving economy and then managed to derail it with a series of reckless decisions. Ironically, had Trump done nothing and stayed out of government affairs, it's likely the country would have been better off economically. But now, the stakes are higher than ever. Trump's rhetoric and actions have the potential to plunge the stock market even further, possibly even below the levels seen during the Great Depression. If Trump does take the drastic step of trying to fire Powell, it could set off a chain reaction of legal and financial consequences. This situation highlights the rising tension between Trump and the legal system, especially the U.S. Supreme Court, which is increasingly criticized for perceived political bias, particularly by justices like Alito and Thomas. Trump's conflict with Powell could lead to a resolution by a court many now distrust. Meanwhile, the Trump administration continues defying legal rulings, such as its failure to return Kilmer Abrego Garcia to the U.S. Despite a Supreme Court order, the Trump administration has ignored the need to correct the wrongful deportation of Garcia, showing disregard for the rule of law and undermining legal integrity. Democratic leaders are pushing back. Congressman Maxwell Frost attempted to meet Garcia in El Salvador, but was denied. However, Senator Chris Van Hollen succeeded, aiming to bring Garcia back for a fair trial. The ongoing constitutional crisis in the United States is a testament to the chaos that Trump's presidency has unleashed. From his attacks on the Federal Reserve to his failure to uphold the law, the nation is now on the brink of a potentially catastrophic economic and political meltdown. As we watch this drama unfold, we are left wondering what the future holds. For the American economy, the rule of law, and the stability of our political institutions, will Trump's reckless behavior continue to fuel uncertainty, or will the legal system step in to prevent further damage? Only time will tell. But one thing is clear: the stakes have never been higher.